My name is Charlie Anthony, and I'm a student in CERT 415, and this is my ethics reflection on the movie Little Man. So one memorable image from the film that stood out to me was going to be the image of Nicholas at 2540 in his third day of life, attached to the tubes and IVs. I picked this image since it moved me beyond words when I first watched the film. In the scene, we see how little he is and just how many tubes he really is dependent on. We hear his mother explaining the image and reflecting on how small he is. To me, this scene was both moving and upsetting. I found it moving since there was so much love for this little baby, and it was evident in a way that his mother talked about him and the effort doctors were putting in to save this baby's life. On the flip side, I found it upsetting because I knew the struggle and pain this baby would have to overcome as he grows. I come from a medical background, and seeing this child in a state so fragile and so uncertain makes me question how a parent can survive this. Despite this love for the child and the hope one might have looking at this image, I cannot help but focus on the pain and suffering of this innocent child. He will have a long journey ahead of him. So with that in mind, I also had a few questions that I questioned while watching the video. So I questioned the selfishness of Nicole, since she was the driving force in all the decisions of Nicholas' life, and she never considered what her wife's point of view was. I also questioned how, as a mother or parent, can you be okay with watching your child suffer so long due to your need for his survival? The third question I have is, when does a doctor decide enough is enough in terms of medical treatment and life-saving measures? The next thing I question is how Nicole can be so self-concerned about their need for their child to survive that they ultimately ignore the child they already have. The last thing I question is, despite the child's seemingly happy state by the end of the movie, what quality of life does he truly have, since he suffers from so much pain and other health factors? On the flip side, I did enjoy looking back at the film that Nicole did truly love her son, to the fact that she was willing to put her family's state at risk to save this child's life. I admire that because despite all the obstacles she knew she had to face for her son, she tackled them on top of having issues of distance from her wife. She never gave up when so many other parents would have, and she never felt that her child was a burden, again, when so many other parents would have. She loved her family, and for that she deserves to be admired. The final thing that I want to talk about is something that might have challenged my views or my values. So for me, it's hard to say that my values were challenged since I am not a mother, nor do I plan to be one for a while. So I cannot even remotely begin to understand the challenges and situations this family was presented with. I can say now that I would have signed a DNR after the third time Nicholas crashed, but in the moment, if it were my own child, I cannot say I would do the same thing. I naturally have some issues with the choices made on behalf of this child that stem from my medical background, but again, if I were a mother, my views on this might even skew then. So it's an impossible situation for any person to be in, and until you're in it, who can say what you would do?